Here on PHNX Suns, we hate lazy player comparisons. That's why today we're going to tell you why Collin Gillespie can be the next Peyton Pritchard or TJ McConnell. Psychos and sickos unite for a breakout edition of PHNX Suns, coming to you live from Studio A on a Friday. It's a two-man on-camera show, but a three-man crew for you here. Today, I'm Eric Ruby, that's Stephen Brejon Garner. We got the Juice Man, a.k.a. Freckled Mamba, a.k.a. Ayrton, behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. But of course, the most important people, all of you watching live in YouTube right now, watching on YouTube after the fact, watching on TV, and of course, listening on audio. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and of course, if you're listening on audio, 5-star reviews go such a long way. It's our favorite thing to do here on a Friday in the offseason. We're going to be breaking down a specific player's game on the Phoenix Suns. Today is one of the more intriguing pieces, Steven. It is Collin Gillespie. What's his ceiling? How good can he be? We're going to talk about his pedigree, his college play, his time in the G League with the Valley Suns, and of course, his time in the NBA at the end of last season on the roster and as a starter, as he became one of the more fun pieces of a not-so-fun team last year. But first things first, as we always do, how are you doing, Steven?
Doing good. We got some brand new Ghostface that came out. Having some fun listening to that. Haven't got all the way through it yet, but respect to the OGs that continue to be consistent across 20-some-odd years at this point.
Didn't Slick Rick drop something?
Slick Rick dropped something about a month or two ago.
Was it good? I haven't listened.
Yeah, it was good. He had a song with Nas on there and some other songs. Yeah,
that's
so
crazy.
Shout out to all of the OGs restoring the essence of hip hop, from Clips to, like you said, Slick Rick to Ghostface, Redman, Method Man.
Chance is 30 now, so
not quite.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Clips album of the year for sure. If you could pick one OG rapper to drop a project and it's good that you haven't heard from in a while, who would it be?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Without being too long in thought, I'm gonna just say Common.
Okay, a little prime Common. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. He's Chicago guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's Chicago
Southside,
guy
through and through.
Ayrton, how you doing?
Doing good. Excited. It's Friday. Ready for the short normal weekend, but ready to get a weekend nonetheless.
You're going up north, right?
I am
That's gonna be
go
sick.
up the flag.
You're ducking our hoops run that we were trying to put together. I see how it is,
I
Ayrton. Ayrton tried to throw me under the bus to one of our teammates earlier today, to former producer Noah. Tried to cause a division or rift in the locker room, and I shut it down.
That's crazy.
I shut it down.
I'm like Brian Gregory. I'm just trying to create dogs. We need dogs on our team.
Well,
trying to ruffle you guys up a little bit.
Here, why don't you drive the show? Because that was a great transition into what we're going to start here. Before we dive into what we think Collin Gillespie could do for the Suns and bringing you just some of his history, let's hear from new general manager Brian Gregory, who spoke on bringing back Collin Gillespie.
Well, I think everybody would evaluate Collin and the way he played in that second half of the year as someone who deserved to be on this team. He earned it. No question about it. And he gave us a lot. He gave us a lot at the point guard spot. But he also gave us a lot in everything that we've been talking about, the grit, the toughness, the first on the floor mentality, the great leadership he provides every single day. So I do think that there's a need. There was a need, and he filled it.
Question for both of y'all. And I say this, or I ask this respectfully. Who showed the qualities that the Suns are looking for in this new era the most last season?
3 names come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Collin Gillespie, Ryan Dunn, and Oso Ighodaro.
Ayrton?
That was the exact same 3 that I was thinking of, yeah. Nobody else than that.
So it should come as no surprise that he was brought back, that they have the respect for what he showed last season amidst the season that left a lot more to be desired in so many different capacities, that we were able to start multiple spinoffs of where the Suns went wrong and doing multiple episodes of the things that went wrong. Makes sense why he's here and why he has the opportunity for the role that he does.
I mean, we'll get into his stats as a starter a little bit later in this show, but I mean, I know that last season a lot of people want to block it out from their memory, and I don't blame them at all, but there was a very significant chunk at the end of the season where we were saying on this show, people were saying on Sun Social, whatever it is, it's like Collin Gillespie should be starting for this team. Maybe he's not going to be the highest paid guy. Maybe in theory, he's not going to be the most skilled guy next to, like a Bradley Beal, who has hit way higher heights in the NBA than Collin Gillespie ever has. But like you mentioned, Steven, that blue collar mindset, the grit, the grind, also like the little things like rebounding and playing really hard-nosed defense. And he's not the biggest guy, and we'll get into some of his deficiencies and what might stop him from reaching his ceiling. But I'm really excited to dive deep into his potential because he has a great pedigree as a player. And it starts in college. I just want to kind of list off just some of what he did before he got to the Suns. Now, you do have to start in 2023. He is an NBA champion. He does have a ring. Now, that is with the Denver Nuggets. Was he the, biggest piece of that team, stalwart in the rotation? No. But he does have a ring. He was a part of a championship organization, right? But before that, he's also an NCAA champion in 2018. He's an AP third-team All-American once in 22 and a two-time third-team All-American by the United States Basketball Writers Association in 2021 and 2022, a two-time Big East Player of the Year in 21 and 22, two-time first-team All-Big East 21 and 22, second-team All-Big East in 2020, and a Big East Tournament MVP in 2022. He has a pedigree of winning. He went undrafted out of Villanova, had to earn it in the G League, was on the Nuggets, then the Grand Rapids Gold at the same time, then signed with the Suns on a two-way, played with the Valley Suns last year, eventually got in a spot last year where he was starting games for this team. Steven, when we talk about somebody overachieving based off of expectations or earning their way up into a position in the league from where Collin Gillespie started, which was an undrafted rookie, how important are the things that I just listed off, the pedigree of winning, the being the guy in college and having that kind of work ethic?
That's important because you can't exist in so many different capacities and win to the level of a sustained high level that he has without having the qualities needed brought to the table on a daily basis. There's a certain bar you have to meet every day if you're going to be winning in so many different instances of your career. And again, to add value in all of those situations too. Like with Denver, he wasn't playing much, no, but I imagine he played heavily into things that were going on at practice and the way he showed up to work and the things that ultimately led to that team winning the championship. You don't kind of stumble into those things. You're very much a part of it, and he knows what it looks like. I think people have heard me say that a lot of times. If you haven't been in those situations, you just don't know what it looks like. You're working towards something, but you can't really identify some of the things that might get in the way of you getting to that because you haven't got to it before. But Collin, he's been there on both of the two highest levels at this point, and he's played an integral piece in it.
Yeah, and I think for what the Suns are trying to bring, not only does he have that mindset that we talked about as the grit and the grind and the earn it, but it's like this is also a team like they want to win a championship. Right? They want to get to the point where they are at the mountaintop, and to have a player who's done that at any level, let alone two levels, no matter what part he played in that, whether he was, one of the best players on the team, like in 2018 when he was a national champion, or he was a two-way guy, also sharing time on the G League, like when he was with the Denver Nuggets in 2023. He's seen the mountaintop multiple times at different points in his career. Do you have any memories from his time at Villanova, whether it was that championship run or those 3 years that he was just absolutely killing there with them?
Yeah, it's the championship run naturally, just because for many reasons, Villanova with Jay Wright, if he had guards coming to play for his team and his program, they're going to have a certain type of pedigree. That word keeps coming up. they would have some kind of prerequisites that suggest, okay, this is a player that wouldn't just fit in with the culture, but would help to spirit into whatever it's going into in its next evolved version. And he played a significant piece in that because of it, and grew through that as well. So no surprise what he did in college and the school that he went to, it feels like aligned directly with the individual basketball player that he is.
And when you talk about the individual basketball player that he is right now, not only does he have this pedigree, but he's also been improving over his time in the league. And I think a lot of that culminated with the season that he put together with the Valley Suns this past season. So let's go ahead and take a look at his stats from the G League with the Valley Suns. 21.2 points per game, 10.6 assists per game, so averaging a double-double, 7.5 rebounds per game, shooting over 55% from 2, almost 30% from 3 at 29.2%, and 33.6 minutes per game. Now, this is also somebody who wasn't full-time in the G League, right? He wasn't just there and being comfortable. He had to also split time with the main team. He was traveling. He suited up. We'll bring you his stats from the league as well. But Steven, there's this line in the G League, right? Where it's like, okay, you could be good in the G League. That's great. But if you are dominant to the tune of averaging 21, 10, and 7, like that is an NBA player.
It is an NBA player, especially if you're looking at the point guard position and the non-statistical dynamics that you assess point guards from. Controlling the pace, controlling the flow, understanding who needs the ball when and how to get that ball to them based off of the principles your team is playing off of, but also the actions being ran. And he was very, very efficient at running an offense on the G League level to the extent of the cadence and process of the reads that he's making and the ability to pass off of the things that he's seeing. Very much NBA level. And those things stand out. We talked about it on the summer league circuit. Some players, the way that they bring specific quality to that stage, it stands out compared to other players that might bring it in a similar capacity just because one is NBA ready and the other is not. With Collin, his playmaking has been NBA ready for quite some time now.
His I think the rebounding is the most impressive thing to me because I do believe it was the G League season before he came to the Suns. I think he nearly averaged, if not did average, a triple-double with about 20, 10, and 10. And this is not the tallest guy in the world. He's about 6'1".
6'3".
6'1", I think he's like 6'1", 6'2".
He's listed at 6'3".
He's listed at 6'3". Yeah, and when I was on dating apps, my height was 6'3". Yeah. But with Collin, he plays strong. And you see him bully guys in the paint, drive, get his head down, go into the post. And for somebody his size, it's not something that they do that often. And when you're playing in the G League, yeah, the competition is lower, right? But going into the games, the scouting report started with Collin Gillespie. It was, this is their offense. Not only is he dropping dimes and some of these passes, and think about it, not only is the talent he's playing against lower, like he's also not surrounded by NBA talent, so still being able to get over 10 assists per game is a testament to him actually setting up, not just passing the ball. But the scouting report started with Collin Gillespie. He was like by far and away the best player on this team, so opposing defenses would crowd him a little bit more. He would draw double teams. He would have to play make out of a lot of attention. And Johnny Silver asked, how's his G League three-point percentage less than the NBA? You and I both saying it's the shot types and the amount of shots that he's getting, and you say the context of scouting. I'm assuming that that's playing into what I just said.
Yep, same thing. If you're at the top of a scouting report, they're going to be looking to take things away from you. And if they're looking to take things away from you, that means the shots that you're getting when you're playing with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal and all these other top-tier talents, it's not going to be the same style of play that you're playing if you're playing and you're kind of spearheading a lot of the things. And naturally on the G League level, he's a player that had the ball in his hands a ton, running the show, literally and figuratively. And when he got to the NBA level, whether he was coming off the bench or starting, he wasn't ever truly running the show because one of those three, if not two of those three, was on the court with him. Defenses are going to shift towards them instead of him, and that's the context difference.
You watch a lot of basketball, Steven, correct? Right?
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
Again, I think back to one of the first conversations that we had when you were here, and I asked you, because I'm like, what's your vice? And you're like, just like zero emotion. You're just like, basketball. And I was like, that's the realest thing I've ever heard.
I was like, isn't it obvious what you mean?
No, I know. But you never know with guys. You get to know guys. But that is like, it tells a lot about you that's like the answer, right, to that question. And I want you to kind of paint a picture, because I know we have a lot of really smart psychos and sickos in here, but I don't know if there's anybody on planet Earth that watches as much basketball as you that's not like an NBA coach. Mm-hmm. How hard is it to go from, in any context, being the guy, like the literal guy, scouting report starts with you, game plan starts with you, offense starts with you, to you are a piece, you are an auxiliary piece, you are somebody who's playing off of all the attention gators, and to do that to the point where it feels like seamless from star to the rolliest of role players.
Mm-hmm. It's a little easier when you're a point guard, because if you're not bringing it up as often, but you're still bringing it up the floor, you're still kind of playing a little bit of your role. Now, the difference is the types of defenses that you're seeing. That's a little bit easier to adjust to when you're used to getting a lot of attention and then you're not getting as much. That means you have more space. You have like, oh, okay, this is what it feels like to have somebody else kind of set the table for me to do what I can versus me being the one it's a little bit of role reversal, if you will. And I think that's a part of why he excelled when he got to the NBA level, because he goes from being that guy that we're speaking to now you got 2 Hall of Famers and a player that is playing at all-star level at times that has all-star level skills in Bradley Beal. That's a lot of, hey, I can just be free, essentially. Not having to worry about 2 defenders guarding me. Sometimes they're sagging off of me to give those 2 or those 3 attention, and he's taking wide open catch and shoot threes or playing off of closeouts. It gets easier from the point guard position to do that because of those things. Now, if it was a 2 or a 3, it gets a little different, even a 5 if you're a primary option.
Yeah, I also think that there's like, you have to have some sort of acceptance of your role as well. And that is something that a lot of guys struggle with in the NBA, because everybody thinks that they're the guy because their entire life they have been. Right. And when you go from like, I know that I'm a killer, plus for Collin as well, like he was put in a tough situation when he signed here, last summer, and we were able to catch up with him at Summer League. He was talking about like, I'm excited to play a role for this team. I'm excited to contribute. And then the team added Monte Morris and Tyus Jones right after that. Right. Well, already having 2 starting guards in Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. So it was like, well, where the hell are you going to fit in for Collin Gillespie? So it's interesting when you look at that and you say, like, he was put in a tough position, he put his head down, and he worked. And I think that is the biggest thing that gets me hyped about his future and about this season, where the Suns are investing in him, not just by giving him a standard contract, his first standard contract in the NBA, something that he definitively earned, but also, like, he's part of these media tours, right? He was just at the Diamondbacks game, with Oso Ighodaro, with Ryan Dunn, the gauchos, right? The new faces, the young faces of this franchise. Like, he is not just some end-of-bench piece that the Suns are like, yeah, he's going to be good for us and we're going to move on with it. This is somebody, Steven, that the Suns have decided is going to be part of their identity on and off the court. For a player like that, who of course has always had this innate belief in himself, has been the guy at the highest level in college, won at the highest level as an organization in the NBA, and dominated the next best league, which is that G League right underneath the NBA, to get that vote of confidence right after getting a standard contract, like, I'm hard-pressed to believe that investment is not going to pay off in some sort for the Suns with some hard work and some improvement on his game in some areas that we'll talk about today.
For sure. And it is different when someone exudes those qualities as a tone setter for your team, meaning at the helm of the offense or at the helm of your defense. The blue-collar efforts on defense, all of that multiple efforts that he provides for them. And then on the offensive end, we talk about being able to be a chameleon in multiple respects as a point guard. That's not, like, I'm not going to say it's easy. It's easier to do as a point guard. But, again, when you have someone that's selfless enough to understand those things and do whatever the team needs for him to be the best in his role, and then make his own luck off of that hard work that he put in over the course of last season, those guys that bet on themselves, those guys that kind of get it out the mud proverbially, if you will, those are the guys that typically sustain at a certain level because they've been through it and they understand what it takes to stay there, but they also don't want to lose that. And he's at that point where he's now given an opportunity where it's his to lose, and I don't think he's going to lose that grasp on it.
And it's an opportunity where it's like there's still so many more rungs to hit, right? A standard contract is probably what he expects from himself. Are you going to get a multi-year deal, right? Are you going to be a vet minimum guy for the rest of your career? Are you going to turn into a Peyton Pritchard, somebody who won the Sixth Man of the Year, a Lou Williams, obviously not in play style, but somebody who won Sixth Man of the Year, was notorious of being one of the best players in the NBA off the bench, right? Like, can you put yourself in the same category as these bench guys that are so good that a championship team wants you and they might pay you more than some other teams, or a really bad team's going to overpay you to be a starter, right? Which are good positions to be in.
Absolutely.
Either way. So there's still like this next goal and hunger for Collin that should still be there. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about his time when he got called up to the Suns, and then the time that he stepped in as a starter. You have some other scouting stuff that you've pointed out as far as, statistics and numbers and things to watch. We'll hear from Collin about what he's been working on this summer, and then we'll talk about what he needs to improve in order to reach these ceilings that we're mentioning today. Can he be the Sixth Man of the Year this season, next season, in the next 5 years? Can he be a starter? What is the future for Collin Gillespie? We're going to break all of that down right here on PHNX Suns with the real psychos and sickos. That's right. You all here, you're the real psychos and sickos. And we're going to keep it going right after our first break. You know me, I'm always rocking my team. I'm always wearing team merch. I am that guy. I just am. And I love it. And I love Rally House. Some of the favorite shirts that I have in my collection are from Rally House, but it's not just shirts. It's hats, it's drinkware, it's signage, it's coolers, it's socks. It's literally anything. My personal favorite in-person brick and mortar store for Rally House is in Tempe, but they also have ones in Mesa and Glendale that are fantastic. But also you can shop online and just get a ton, I mean a ton of merch, and they only carry Arizona sports teams. We here at PHNX, we rep the Valley, they rep the Valley too. Find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com. That's www.rallyhouse.com. And if you buy something cool, send a picture, tag me. I want to see it, and maybe I'm going to copy you. And you got to copy us if you're moving, and get in touch with Two Men and a Truck, because we are continuing to get settled in here in Studio A and Studio K. We have another studio that we're working on as well. And let me tell you, the move was so seamless, but it wouldn't have been without Two Men and a Truck. And this was not an easy move. It was 4 men and 2 trucks, because we needed all the manpower that we could get. And guess what? They didn't break a single thing, and we've got some expensive equipment. They didn't lose a single thing, and we got some expensive equipment. And these elevators are tight in this new building. It is not an easy move, and they got it all done efficiently, on time, and guess what? They were a pleasure to deal with. Wonderful people, trustworthy people as well. They know how important a move can be to you, so make the right decision. For your next move, visit twomenscottsdale.com. That's 2 Men in a Truck, the movers who care, and they also have storage solutions as well, just trying to make your life easier. They're begging to make your life easier. So give them what they want. 2menandatruck.com. Sorry, 2menscottsdale.com. Not 2 Men in a Truck, Scottsdale.com. Come on, Eric. Get it together. Shout out to Meatloaf, Brent, Ms. Nisha, that's Cuz, Dagoon, Boom Shakalaka, Shumdog Millionaire, who did not like me saying the word rolliest earlier today. Appreciate you all so much. Brent says, starting off my run slow in case Eric tells me to run faster. Brent, sprint. Sprint. And scream and look back behind you like somebody's chasing you. What up, Amelia? Always good to see you here, Amelia, a true OG, an OGist of the OG. Take that, Shumdog. All right. Let's take a look at Collin Gillespie's stats as y'all hit that like button and hit that subscribe button as well in the NBA with the Phoenix Suns this season. So this is comprehensively, Steven, including the run at the end of the season, but of course some spot minutes and a lot of garbage time minutes as well. 5.9 points per game, 2.4 assists per game, 2.4 rebounds per game, shooting 42.6% from 2, 43.3% from 3 in 14 minutes per game in 33 games played. Not the most impressive stats. Steven will get to his stretch as a starter, but when he started getting run over this season, what stood out to you the most from Collin on an NBA level?
Yeah, what stood out to me first was that he is more of a true point guard than he is a combo guard, but he has combo guard qualities baked into how he operates as well. And that goes back to the question you asked earlier about how you saw him, how did I see him adjust to kind of being a person that could play multiple positions, multiple different roles, and kind of adjust from what he's kind of grown accustomed to being pretty much the entirety of his basketball life. And I think that part is important because for any point guard that's coming into the NBA now, you have to be a chameleon in certain respects. Maybe certain things that you might not have ever done in your entire career. You get to the NBA level, you start getting the opportunity at minutes, you're going to have to operate in some new ways. I'm sure most guards, unless they were like the Steph Curry types, and like the elite type of shooter class, if you weren't one of those type of guys, you probably weren't setting too many screens on the ball or off the ball throughout your basketball life. For Collin last season, one of the best qualities he brought was setting screens for Devin Booker, setting screens for Bradley Beal, setting screens for Kevin Durant at times. Probably set as high a volume of screens as he ever has in his career, and it's because the advantage creation part of that. So that was one of the things that stood out most to me, that adaptability and role, but being able to kind of flourish in it and continue to add value.
Extremely impressive, and I agree with everything that you said. There were two things about his game that stood out to me the most when he started to get a little bit more of consistent run, and especially near the end of the season, even when he was starting, and we'll give you the starting numbers here in a second. Number one was his strength. There's one play in specific that I remember. I believe he got the start, or he was at least in the rotation. It was not when he was playing garbage time against the Rockets, and Amen Thompson was on him, and he drove, and he got Amen Thompson off of him. To the point that Amen was like, what? And this is somebody who's universally regarded as the best young defender in the NBA. If it's not him, it's his twin brother, Asar. And Collin Gillespie is much smaller in theory, obviously, not in theory, but most people are more unathletic than Amen Thompson, right? That's not really supposed to be happening. But Collin got off of him on a drive, put his shoulder into him. Amen bounced off, lost his footing, and Collin went up and got the bucket. His touch around the rim mixed with like this smaller body strength that he has, it felt like he had no problem getting to his spot on an NBA level. And that is something that is a lot of the times for smaller guards lost in the translation from the G League to the NBA, is that strength and that ability to get to your spot and get your shot off. The second thing that impressed me was the three-point shooting. How smooth his stroke looked, how much power he seemed to have on the pull-up, and the fact that he wasn't just shooting corner threes, right? Sometimes he was pulling up a good distance behind that line and pulling it with confidence, even when it was just garbage time minutes, to the point where you're like, all right, like it looks smooth, it looks powerful, it doesn't look like he's forcing it. Those were two of the first things that I really noticed about him, was his power and his three-point stroke.
Yeah, those things definitely stood out into the PowerPoint. I think we saw a lot of that on the defensive end as well. If you're talking about more things that stood out, we talked about last season, especially early on, the only player that had extended pickup points defensively was Ryan Dunn. And occasionally you would see a Bradley Beal get mixed into that. Occasionally you would see a Devin Booker, but obviously it wouldn't hit the same as when Ryan Dunn was doing it. You insert Collin Gillespie not just into the rotation, but also into the starting lineup, which we'll have more on later. And all of a sudden now you have multiple pieces that are not just capable of doing that, but effective in doing that. Whether they're getting steals or not, they're bleeding away the shot clock. That's putting a defense that was one of the worst in the NBA last season in a better position than when those players weren't on the floor. Those things matter. You have to have somebody that not just can, but actually wants to do that. And Collin is a player that very much is blue collar and exudes those qualities whenever he was on the court with the big league team. And there was impact from that. It might not have been the loudest on the statistics basis because most defensive metrics are team-oriented, but when he was on the court, they were better defensively than they weren't.
Well, and there was one game where it was loud, even statistically, and that, of course, is that miraculous fourth quarter comeback against the Clippers. A game that I watched, but I was not on the postgame on because I was doing the postgame for ASU men's basketball's blowout loss to U of A, and that made me so upset. At the end of the season, I missed the fourth quarter comeback against the Clippers, and I missed the win over Cleveland, where Oso went crazy. I missed one of the few good moments for the end of the season to watch ASU men's basketball just take a hot, steaming pile of crap on the middle of the court. And listen, I love my Sun Devils, but God, that team sucked. Anyway, I like this note from Brent. says, fun fact, Mikal Bridges became a great baseline cutter because Gillespie was such a great screen setter in college. Screen setting is something, Steven, that you harp on a lot. We talked about it on last week's Friday breakdown with Kaman Malawach and what he needs to improve. Now in the modern NBA, when you're having inverted pick and rolls or inverted pick and pops, and you're having the big handle the ball and having a guard set a screen, to get somebody like Gillespie who's strong and who's able to set solid ones, even when we're talking off-ball movement, that's a weapon for Jordan Ott.
Yeah, that's something
that's a scheming thing that they can put together.
All the guards that are in the rotation for the Suns are going to have to be viable screeners in some capacity, because I don't even want to dive too much into that because that's a whole nother layer. But yes, Collin is a player that flourishes at that, and he's willing to, no different than defensively picking up full court. He's a willing screener, and I think that makes up for a lot of skill if you just actually want to do something.
That might be the number one thing to describe Collin Gillespie. Willing. Like, he is willing to do whatever it takes, whether it's to be the guy or to be a guy or to be on the bench, to be on a two-way, finally get a standard contract. Like, whatever the role is, I think also the word that you pointed out, Steven, was chameleon. And we talk about that Clippers game, the loud impact there, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but there is this tangible impact when he's on the court. There are a lot of those guys. Like Ryan Dunn, statistically, if you look back at this past season, did not have an incredibly great statistical year. Now, there were points where you could talk about, how is he finishing off of a pick and roll? Is he doing well as a cutter? Obviously, the defense is there as well. But like statistically speaking, Ryan Dunn was not, one of the most impactful players. But when we watched the game, when the psychos and sickos watched the game, we knew that he needed to be played because everything changed when he was put in, because the players around him changed too. Collin Gillespie is the type of guard that I think, alongside Devin Booker, defensively and offensively, with the level of energy and attention that he brings, could just make life more fun. Maybe not easier than some of the heights that Jalen Green can bring at and the gravity that he brings on the court, but can just be fun to play with. And that is almost just as important for this team this year than anything else.
Yeah. There's a moment in 2022. I think the Suns beat Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken, and Devin Booker had one of those crazy fourth quarters. It was probably in March, if not like February or March. So you apply that context there, you know what he did. But Chris Paul gets interviewed after the game, and they asked him something about who the MVP is or why he thinks Devin Booker is the MVP. He just smiled, the wry smile, the competitive smile that CP always has. He just said, watch the games, man. Yeah. Just watch the games. That's what this is with Collin Gillespie. If you look at the numbers, you can be like, oh, my God, this dude is barely kind of scraping by. But if you actually watch the games, you see the impact. And that's the important part. Stats can't come before watching games. Stats are supposed to add to what you're seeing to either prove whatever you're thinking is right or wrong. With Collin, if you watch the games and then you go look at some of the impact numbers, especially when he was with the starters, the numbers match the eye test, and they probably give you a little bit more context than what you're seeing with your eyes, because he was keeping things afloat at a moment where the team was falling apart. He was like the no free ads, but the super strong duct tape that you slap on a boat that has a
flex tape. Oh, we can do free ads for flex tape. Those commercials rocked.
He was flex tape for the Suns last season. He comes in at a moment where they're just all out of sorts, and then they start playing this dude more minutes incrementally, and he starts doing more, adding more value, and then he ends up getting a start and doesn't relinquish that for about a 2 or 3 week stretch and continues to add value at every moment since then.
Yeah, two things you reminded me of. One, shout out to our guy Flex. Always love for our guy Flex. Two, you talk about talking or watching the game comes before the stats. It's one of my favorite memes right now where somebody has a picture of a TI-84 calculator and it's like, time to watch a basketball game. It's just so funny to me. It's so funny because it's like, listen, I'm probably the least stats guy on the show. It's not who I am. I appreciate the hell out of them and I use them, but as far as like where I go to get the game, it's like it is a lot more eye test. I think I would have thrived in barbershop conversations back before, everybody thought they knew everything. Well, I guess everybody always thought they knew everything.
Correct. That's not new at all.
But to me, it's just so shocking because it's like that's the fun part. Like watching basketball is the fun part.
It should be.
It's the best part of this job is that like last night, it's like 12:30. I'm laying in bed. I'm like, I'm going to watch Collin Gillespie tape. Like, because that's the fun part, right? Like that's what you want to do. And so it's like, you look at the numbers as a starter in the NBA, Steven, and it's not eye-popping, definitely not as eye-popping as the Valley Suns numbers. But as a starter, in 9 games as a starter, there's a pretty significant uptick, not just in points per game, which is 9.6, rebounds per game, which is 3.2, assists per game, which is 4.1, but also percentages as well. 46.1% from 2, 47.5% from deep in 24 minutes per game. That is a highly effective, ultra efficient offensive player that also brought maybe the most or the second most intensity on defense. That is an extremely valuable player going into this next season for the Suns.
Correct. Again, the eye test, in addition to what the stats are showing, is a player that the Suns just didn't have to be that consistent at the point guard position last season. There was either a player that brought things offensively for them that didn't do things defensively. There was a vice versa, defense and no offense for you. Collin was one that streamlined both of those things. That's the duct tape dynamic that I'm speaking to. He was very much one of those kind of Dan Marley hustle type of guys for the team. Obviously abbreviated compared to someone like Ryan Dunn, but everything he did was exactly what the team needed when they needed it the absolute most. And again, I don't know if he gets the contract and the opportunity at a role for this team without what he did at the later stretch of last season as a starter.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it really got to the point where by the end of the season, it was like, we got to sign this guy to a standard contract. Because if you didn't, it's, hey, like that, it's a pretty big miss to have him in your organization. I thought the fact that they were even able to get him in the first place was, I guess, a steal at the time. It's like that might be thinking too much about it, but I thought it was a great additional piece for a team, especially at that time, that did not have very strong like youth base for the team. That starting stretch for him, those 9 games, I remember we were doing pregame shows, and the starting lineup would come out during the pregame shows, and we'd be sitting there. And we'd be like, it has to be Collin.
It has to be Ryan.
It has to be Collin. Has to be Ryan. Like it just like there's no question about it. And was it always them?
Definitely not.
No,
not as much as it should have been. And that's why they finished the season the way that they did.
And that's why Mike Budenholzer's no longer here.
Also,
but every time that it was the sense of relief in the room for us on the show as people heavily invested in the Suns' wins. From a professional standpoint, for me as a fan, for the fans in the chat, you go on social and immediately everybody starts quote tweeting the starting 5 graphic of, oh my God, thank God Collin is starting. That is an incredible impact for somebody who started the year in the G League, who was on a 2-way contract, was only given an opportunity due to injuries and due to the roster underperforming, and to go and to earn that. And I think that earning that has established this confidence in him, and then the franchise rewarding him is like a great give and take to where, hey, we saw what you could do as a starter. We saw what you did off the bench. We saw what you did in the G League. We've had eyes on you for over a year. Like, you have earned a standard contract. I don't think Collin Gillespie's back if he's on a 2-way contract. I think somebody would have offered him a standard contract somewhere, but we know that he wants to be here too. We have, Steven, some more stats from your scouting report that I think are fascinating that we're going to get into. We have a clip from Collin on what he's worked on this summer. We're going to talk about what he needs to improve on and what's his ceiling. How many minutes per game is he going to get this year? Can he eventually be a starter this season or beyond? What does the future look like for Collin Gillespie and the Phoenix Suns? Well, we're here to break it all down. We love talking basketball. That's why we're here with all you psychos and sickos on a Friday. End your week the right way with us and continue right after our last break. It's hot. I don't really know what else to tell you. It's hot. And it costs so much money to not be hot. So much money. And that's why APS is awesome, because APS wants to save you money. They want to make it not as expensive for you to stay cool in the summer in Arizona, not just with their time of use plan, but also with their smart thermostat, which helps you take advantage of lower cost off-peak hours. Plus, right now, if I wanted to, I could pull out my phone and adjust my thermostat if I forgot to do it this morning. That's the smart thermostat. I could do it from my computer. I could do it from my phone. I can adjust it. And for every 1 degree you can raise your thermostat, you can save up to 2 to 3% on your cooling costs. And APS customers may be eligible for smart thermostats for as low as $0 when you enroll in the APS Cool Rewards program. If you already have a smart thermostat at home, see if it's eligible to enroll in Cool Rewards. Plus, free install is available at the link in our video description. Must be an APS customer. Pay shipping and taxes. Other restrictions apply. Go to marketplace.aps.com for more information. Also, always love telling you about Mountain America Credit Union, because they are the exclusive home of the Suns card. That's right, the Suns card. They're also the exclusive credit union of Arizona State University. It's just speaking my language over here. You can get these elite cards from the official credit union of the Phoenix Suns, available as both a debit and a credit card, and you can pair it with the My Style checking account that we've been telling you about here at PHNX for so long to unlock all those extra benefits, including, but not limited to, telehealth access, loan rate discounts, and mobile phone protection. There's a no annual fee credit card. It's available as a low rate, cashback, or rewards card option as well. They are here to guide you forward in your financial journey, so go get your Suns card today. Apply at any Arizona branch. Visit macu.com/Suns to learn more. Insured by NCUA. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Loans are on approved credit. Thank you all for joining us here today on PHNX Suns. Hopefully you're joining us next Thursday as well at Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass for the PHNX Cardinals residency at the Upper Deck Kitchen and Bar. We love that doing events there. That's where we do all of our Suns watch parties as well. We're going to have 4:30 p.m. It's a PHNX Cardinals live show. I'm repping my Cardinals merch today. 6 o'clock, PHNX live season preview. It's a town hall. You get to ask your questions, talk about the NFL season with Bo and Johnny, the Cardinals crew. And then at 7 p.m., it's the PHNX Fantasy Football Draft. We'll be live streaming that, but you're also going to want to be there in person. Diehards get a free drink while you're there. Plus, you can get 25% off of rooms if you call Gila River Resorts Casinos Wild Horse Pass and use code CARDSFF. Get 25% off your room on a Thursday night and enjoy the night at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. We got Sunset City, Brent, Boom Shakalaka, Meatloaf, Matrix, Elko. We got Freckled Mamba in the chat, Sean, Henny Dawn. Ooh, bars. Sunset City says, storm was crazy last night. Power went out from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. this morning.
That's tough, man.
Dude, have you been hit by some of these storms?
Mm-hmm. I've seen it.
Like crazy ones? Mm-hmm. Because last week, like last Thursday, I was driving home from the gym, not to brag, and it's the most scared I've ever been in my entire life driving. Literal, like trees were falling on the road in front of me. I had to swerve. I couldn't see. And then I pulled over in a parking lot and I looked around and I was surrounded by trees. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't stay here. Like the roads were flooded, bro. Mother Nature was trying to get me to 2032. Expedited, man.
Is it monsoon season?
Monsoon season.
Yeah, I saw I think I was driving north, in the distance where you can see the mountains and whatnot, multiple lightning bolts. And it was like, because it's nighttime, it's just the bolts are very visible and kind of the bolts after the bolts. Yeah, it was like a scary movie scene multiple times with the rain bouncing off of the windshield and all of that.
What about you, Archie? You get hit by those storms?
I did. Tons of rain, 50-mile-per-hour winds.
Dude,
It was awesome.
Tree fell down in my parents' backyard. Yep. Their power went down.
That's tough.
Whew. All right. Brent says, did you know there are about 20,000 skunks in AZ? Well, 19,999 since Bradley Beal got bought out. That one left a lingering stench, though. Woo. Boom Shakalaka says, LOL, AZ monsoons are nothing. You ever been in a tornado warning? You'll bleep yourself. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be in a tornado warning. I'm not going to try to, like, big dog you there.
Yeah. I don't know if you can be from the Midwest and not be in a tornado warning. I've seen a tornado within like 100 miles of it, and those things are ginormous. It's crazy.
We got Stefan Bogdanovich, brother of Bogdan and Boyan, says, good morning, y'all, from Serbia. In my opinion, Collin could be a starting point guard I think you're the first person in our comments to say that they were from Serbia. So thank you so much for joining us from Serbia. Big shout out to you, Stefan. And I know you're not related. Maybe you are, but I was making a joke. I'm sorry. Okay, Steven, I asked you, I was like, can you bring some of your advanced statistics, your brain power to this conversation before we talk about if Collin can be a starter in the future? I was fascinated by some of the stuff that you passed along Ayrton and I's desk earlier today.
Yeah, for sure. We'll start with the top portion. So looking at what he did last season, you see the efficiency in points per possession and pick and roll. That's a player that understands what he's doing and the timing and the rhythm of play within all of that. In addition to that, the shots created off of pick and roll and the percentage that his teammates shot off of those shots that he was creating, whether he was creating for himself or creating for others, that efficiency, you don't get to that point without understanding what you're doing and being intentional about it. The 402 points created, I think it was like 380-something points that he created in the half court, which is included with that. That's a player that understands how to get it done in transition, but also doing so against a set defense in the half court. And then a couple of other quick numbers. With him on the floor, they had an offensive rating that was the equivalent of what would have been 5th in the NBA last season. Pause, let that settle for a second, because that matters. That's elite type of point guard play, being a star in your role. And this goes to the chameleon dynamic that I was speaking to, but also goes in tandem with the points per possession when he's operating in pick and roll, which is what he spent the most time doing when he was on the court. And then obviously catch and shoot threes, 43.5%. Nothing to scoff at in any capacity. And then also being nearly in that same realm on pull-up threes as well. If you're talking about a player that's going to thrive in pick and roll, you have to be able to shoot it. You have to be able to play make out of that and create for yourself when they take away the three-point shot. All of those numbers with the stats and the context of play up top align with the player that adds value in multiple capacities.
I think that's going to be really important as somebody is a ball handler with some of these younger bigs like a Kaman Malawach, who he'll probably be getting a decent amount of playing time with, or Mark Williams if he stays healthy. Even Oso, I think him and Oso would be a really fascinating duo. To me, it's the three-point shooting. On this that really stands out, because that's where you talk about like eye test matching, the stats. When he shoots the ball, like this might sound stupid. He shoots it like he knows it's going in, and it looks like it's supposed to go in. And I think it's the pull up. And one of my favorite things I saw from him was on a fast break. Controlled, fast though, getting down the court, and then pulled up from deep. Right? And it looks so smooth. And when you have somebody who can shoot the three in multiple different ways, not just off the dribble, not just off the catch, not just a corner spot up shooter or running off of a screen, like that's what like Grayson Allen's really good at, is off movement, jumping, grabbing it, and shooting it. Being able to get that pull up off there when you are so good at pick and roll, pick and pop, whatever it is, that defender has to cheat a little bit more towards you, especially if you do it consistently at the NBA level. And if you're, let's say, playing with Kaman Malawach, right? And let's say by the end of the season, his game develops where he has a little bit of pop and a little bit of roll. And Collin Gillespie is dribbling the ball. And Gillespie has the ball in his hand. Kaman sets a screen. He goes through it. Kaman rolls. This is 7'2" with a 7'9" standing reach rolling to the rim. They know that Collin can get him the ball. And they know that against bench units, Kaman's probably going to be able to finish that at a decent rate. But they can't just fall back and go off of his gravity, because if they give Collin Gillespie a couple inches of space, right, he might hit that pull-up three. And if he hits that pull-up three at a consistent rate, then that's going to leave Kaman open. And Collin is smart enough to know when to play with the defense, when to hit Kaman on that pass, when to pull up, when to drive and get to his spot, like I mentioned against Amen Thompson before. These are the options and the layers to an offense that even if Collin isn't starting, even if he's not getting 30 minutes a game, right, which he probably won't even if he does start this year, those 5, 6, 7 possessions that he might get that could be the difference between the Suns picking up some close wins and losing in this season where they're going to have to do everything right on the margins.
Yeah, that's very, very important. And to the Reed's point that you're speaking to, that's one of my favorite dynamics of his game. If you're going to be a scoring guard, you also have to be able to play make out of that. To the scoring part of it, though, 1.39 points per possession as a scorer in pick and roll. That is, the volume is a lot lower than the top level players, so I want to provide that context. But that points per possession, 1.39 scoring in pick and roll, 99th percentile.
I
So
mean,
that's somebody that
he still
suggests
did it.
if you're that good, like that's like no different than if someone shoots 50% from three on 1.5 attempts a game. That's something that suggests that you should be spending more time in that context of play. And for Collin, off of his scoring prowess, he also understands how to get the ball to his teammates. He's good at hitting the roller, come off of a pick. If they're in drop coverage, how deep is that drop? Can I take the angle so that big has to shift? As soon as the big shifts, the pocket pass is there. It's on time and with the perfect type of bounce so that Nick Richards can finish at the basket. If he's going to pick and roll in that same situation and he makes the big commit and someone has to commit to the roller, that skip pass, he's very good with making those passes and he has a certain type of pace to the pass. He can certainly improve on the accuracy of it to help the shooters that are on the backside that are lifting off of taggers and things like that. But he makes the right read with the right timing, with the right cadence, and has the right pace, NBA pace to his passes. A lot of point guards, a lot of primary ball handlers don't have that dynamic, but because he does, it allows for him to thrive. And now you're playing with someone that is at his best as a scorer that can also play make to counterpunch and do little things like that in pick and roll. Very, very important.
So you also, on your scouting report, you had some stuff that he needs to improve on and work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, so you see the numbers, is it 38%, 39% at the rim, around the same in the mid-range and around the same generally in the short mid-range area of the floor. Those three I chose in particular because I think that leads to maybe my biggest thing with him. In addition to the strengths, he can go get a paint touch whenever he wants to. He's more than capable of using his handle to get past guys and get a paint touch or use his speed to go and get a paint touch. His athleticism doesn't hit the same below the free throw line as someone like if you say Jalen Green does. He's not as explosive in that respect. And I think that's where I think if he can add a midi pull-up, a floater, if you will, a Trae Young type, Darius Garland type of floater, if not as an outright midi like Devin Booker or Chris Paul had, if he can add something like that to counterpunch coverages that he sees, now you're really talking about a complete offensive player that's going to be left with all types of options that he can get to because of how proficient he is operating with the ball in his hands and pick and roll.
Well, Gerald, even though he's not here with us today, he was able to catch up with Collin Gillespie at the Diamondbacks game for Suns and Mercury night earlier this week, and Collin was asked what he's been working on this summer.
Having the ball in my hands a little bit more, playmaking, obviously shooting, but I think you could always get better, so just trying to overall complete game, just work on it as much as I can, just being a complete player.
I mean, a complete player is all you can ask for a guy off the bench. Mm-hmm. I think that your point is very important when it comes to the paint and the mid-range and the efficiency and stuff, because I think it's time to shift this conversation into what is Collin Gillespie's ceiling, right? And if in the title of the show is Can Collin Gillespie elevate to Phoenix Suns Sixth Man of the Year? There's a big difference between being the sixth man for the Suns and being the sixth man of the year. To you, is those three stats, that mid-range, that paint touch, are those things that he needs to improve on? Is that the biggest thing holding him back from being somebody who can be in that conversation with the NBA's best off the bench?
That's it for me, because as we talked about, his strengths are his strengths. He doesn't have flaws defensively outside of his size, which is nothing that you can really make up for too much. It's not for a lack of effort. He's good at navigating screens and things like that. He's good at picking up extended with his pickup points. And then in pick and roll, I just showed the numbers and I made him respective to league ranks as well. That's probably the one weakness in his game right now. Once he addresses that, and it might take some time, that's some more complete bench player than you're going to see across the NBA rather.
Yeah, you're in W mode. Yeah. It's okay, as you should be, because the Mercury are good, and even Matt Ishbia is in Mercury mode, retweeting our guy. I'll say this. So I'm Mr. Positivity around here, and I'm Mr. Positive Outlook. Listen, there is a world where Collin Gillespie is just a good bench player. Right, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and be like, this guy's going to start. This guy's going to be a sixth man of the year conversation. Do I think that those things are on the table for him? If a lot of things play out right, I think absolutely. With all the groundwork that we just laid out over the last 50 minutes of his pedigree, his work ethic, his ability to adapt, his shooting, his passing, his rebounding, his defense, his energy, like all of that,
Yep.
right? The intangibles, the basketball IQ, like these are things that like there are a lot of boxes that are checked for Collin Gillespie. Let's say that he doesn't elevate those few concerns, right? But in an extended amount of playing time, he gets marginally better on some of those other things. He's able to stay consistent with a bigger role. What do you realistically see from him as like not a floor, not a ceiling, but like if I'm asking you this season, what would be in your mind like, okay, that is what I expect from Collin Gillespie, barring like some massive improvement or massive fall off?
To expect, I want to see those same numbers that we saw last season, even if they do drop off some, kind of sustain. Now, the context matters. Last season, he was operating with Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker on the floor at any given time. He only has one of those three players that's on his team this season. Defenses are not going to look the same that in terms of the spaces he can kind of explore. It's not going to be the same going into this upcoming season. So how do you take that with a little bit more of attention that you will see in the uptick in role and minutes and find a way to streamline and sustain? I think that's the biggest thing for me.
When you mention you want to see him sustain the stats that he had last season, are you talking about the stats as a starter?
Yes.
So the 9.6 points per game, 4.1 assists per game, 3.2 rebounds per game.
And the three-point shooting efficiency in
Yeah.
there, 40% from deep, pull-ups 40% from deep, generally 40% on catch and shoots.
Yeah. I would love that. I think if you got that season from Collin Gillespie consistently, what he gave you as a starter with that kind of impact and the way that we saw him change that game against the Clippers or change the game whenever he was in it, was he perfect? No, but nobody was perfect on the Suns last year, and nobody will be perfect on the Suns this year. If he can do that, I think that's a great realistic standard to look at for him.
Yep.
What do you think the ceiling is for him this year? Because there are some people who are looking at it as Collin Gillespie might be starting next to Devin Booker by the end of the year if the worries that a lot of people have about Jalen Green are true, or Jalen Green is off the team by the end of the season.
And the question is,
What's his ceiling? Like, can he be a starter on this team? Can he be a sixth man of the year in the NBA on this team this year for this team?
I don't think starting is in the cards per se this season, and this is obviously barring trades in any capacity, which shifts things. But,
and barring like injuries and spot starting and stuff.
But as far as role this team is based off of, I think he is the sixth man for them, especially in the guard room. If he can get up to 24 minutes, 25 minutes a game and be a player that's adding value within that, in that increased role and seeing numbers that sustain off of what we just got done talking about the last 53 minutes, that's exactly what I think his ceiling is. Can you sustain that in a different team context, but with similar demands and a much more of a runway that's given to you?
Is there any concern about him taking on a bigger role for you?
Not for this Suns team, because he showed what he could do when he was given the opportunity last season, and I don't think that was by happenstance. You give a player that's known and shown to be a winner with those qualities as his habits that opportunity, and he's going to take it and run with it as far as he's allowed to.
At the start of the season, do you expect Grayson Allen be the first one off the Suns bench?
Yeah, I think Grayson's the first guard off the bench, and then naturally eventually gets to Collin.
Do you think Collin is the first guard off the bench by the end of the season, either by trade or by earning it?
I think he can be.
Do you see starting, and we're rapid fire questions here.
Do you think he can be that guy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love Grayson. I think that Grayson's a little underrated. I want to have a little bounce back season for him.
That should be the overarching vibe from anybody that watches us, that we believe in Grayson more than most of the fan base does.
But I do believe in Grayson more as a trade piece because of the contract.
Sure, of course.
I think that Collin Gillespie with no trades could be the first guy off the bench by December. I think that his impact could be that great. Starting is so interesting because I think it would take something pretty significant happening, injury, trade, really, really unsustainable play from a Jalen Green or a Ryan Dunn or a Dylan Brooks, even though if it's going to be a forward, you're probably not going to be starting Gillespie in that sense. I see a future, and this is an idealistic future. I could see this guy starting in the NBA at some point. Maybe not on a championship team. I think if he's going to be on a championship team, he's probably like the super sixth man of the year, right? And I do think that eventually he could be in that conversation as an ultra efficient guard who's shooting, passing, rebounding, defending on a winning team. Those kind of guys win not defensive player of the year, win sixth man of the year. I really believe in this guy, and I know like I'm the fan here, but like it's just eye test. And I would say that if he was playing on the Wizards, I would say that if he was playing on the Nuggets, I would say that if he was playing on the Trailblazers, like there's a really good NBA player deep down in there, and he's proven it every step of the way. We'll give our final thoughts on Collin Gillespie after I remind everybody that is watching on TV that the party always continues in Studio A over at GoPHNX.com, where if you're missing Gerald, even though it's overtime right now on the show, after this, you can go read the biggest lessons learned. He put some of that into written form, added some more context and whatnot. That is over on GoPHNX.com. Steven, Collin Gillespie, if you had to give your final thoughts on him
Winner.
as a play.
He's a winner.
All right, you can follow the show at PHNX_Suns.
And that's why you see what you see, even like you said, as a fan, because he's a winner. You can't fake the funk on those qualities. Either you just have it or you don't. And it's every day, your habits. How are you showing up to the gym? How are you pouring into your teammates? How are you kind of curving your ascension into your role for a team and doing the little things, especially as a point guard? Like, it's different for me when it's a point guard because it's the starting point, the inception point of an offensive possession and a defensive possession. He wears those qualities well, and I think that because he has the pedigree and all the prerequisites that come with him, there's a certain bar for what he's going to be meeting on a daily basis. I imagine Jordan pours into him no different than they did with Ty Jerome last season with the Cavaliers, and you saw what he was. Maybe to the extent where Jalen Green comes out because Devin Booker is going to be playing the entire first quarter more than likely. Maybe Jalen Green gets an early sub out, and Collin's the one that comes in to get that going into the lineups, and then Grayson ultimately comes in after that in some capacity.
You think a Ty Jerome season's on the table?
I think a Ty Jerome type of leap is in store for him based off of everything we saw and what his potential suggests from all of the numbers and all of the kind of things that we talked about with this game.
Ayrton, what do you think about Mr. Gillespie?
I think that he's destined for a breakout year this year. I think you guys have talked a ton about pedigree, and the two people that you compared him to in the cold open and on our thumbnail, I think a few days ago when we were doing Gillespie stuff, but it was Peyton Pritchard and it was TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell went to U of A, got drafted into the process. Peyton Pritchard went to Oregon, then got drafted into the Celtics. Gillespie went to Villanova, got drafted to the Nuggets, won a championship, played with Jokic, played with Durant, played with Booker. I just feel like he's got all of the bases and the bricks laid that are ready for him to take that next leap.
Those are all well-respected programs on the collegiate level. I know you might not want to hear it, and that's understandable.
But
you respect it, though. I know you respect it, too.
I'm not
I know you respect it, for sure.
I hate them.
For sure.
They're like the devil incarnate, but in a basketball program. But yeah, they're good. Like, if a U of A fan says that ASU football right now sucks, they're just stupid. Like, you don't have to like it, but let's just be honest here. I had to bring it back to ASU football.
You come from those programs. You don't.
Sure.
It's not just by happenstance or by accident.
Sure.
That you do that.
I really think that we could be talking about a Gillespie breakout season in a lot of sense. A little quick game to end it off here. Little this or that. Who's more likely? Who's more likely to have a breakout season this year? Ryan Dunn or Collin Gillespie?
I think that Collin is more primed to do so because of the role, because of the opportunity. He doesn't have to have people set him up in the ways that Ryan will need to for him to be successful. A lot of it will be off of Collin's own will. And because of that, I think that even though his role might not necessarily be minutes total-wise the same as Ryan because he has more competition in his way, more NBA, elite-level NBA competition in his way, it might look different, but I think Collin's more set up to take a leap compared to Ryan.
I think this is difficult.
I think I might be most, and this is not my bias in it, but I think I might be most inclined to see watching go through all of the film and everything on Collin's season this year than anybody else.
Yeah, I think with Collin, he's going to have the ball in his hands, right? I think offensively, you're probably going to see, you're going to notice it more probably consistently than Ryan Dunn. That being said, if Ryan Dunn gets to that spot where he does improve his three-point shooting, his finishing off of a pick and roll, his cutting, maybe even some initiating by the end of the season, while maintaining and being the best point of attack defender or switching out as the best point of attack defender with Dylan Brooks, Ryan Dunn will be starting for this team. That's a really big role. At least we assume he's going to be starting. He is going to be playing with presumably the better talent on the court than Collin Gillespie, which might lead him to be in a better breakout position. But then on vice versa, I think the usage percentage for Collin Gillespie is going to be a lot higher. So there's his opportunity. That kind of balances out. I'm going to go with Ryan Dunn. Personally, it's really close, and I think having this conversation is fun. Juice Man, break the tie.
I want Ryan Dunn to take that leap, but I think that Collin Gillespie is better set up to take that leap. Just because of roster, just because of who's getting him the ball, just because of what he can do with the ball. I think Collin's got it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating study between them. And then, of course, like you look at an Oso Iguodala, right? Because Mark Williams break out as well. There are a lot of candidates. Can Jalen Green really continue to elevate his game? So many different contexts for so many different guys. It's going to be fascinating, but especially with those two specifically, I think they're going to be put in a lot bigger roles than they had last season. And that feels almost more guaranteed than, an Oso Iguodala, who's still trying to maybe figure out where he stands in the center rotation. It's going to be really, really fun to watch. We got Stefan in the chat, or Stefan, I'm sorry. You got to let me know how to pronounce that. We're dogs now. Says Ryan. Boom Shakalaka says done. Daniel Thomas says Collin. Meatloaf says both. There's some differing opinions in the chat. Daniel says Ryan has higher expectations, but Collin has higher leap potential. What do you think, Freckled Mamba?
I just had one thing to say about Collin that I am just like reinforcing my belief that he's going to take the leap, is that there's this thing with guards and with bigs, and we've talked about it with Malawach especially this year, that it takes them a few years to really get situated in the NBA. And Collin's 26 years old, and he's getting lumped into the young guys. I think that he's, like, I know I've said it again, but he's in the perfect spot to be that next guy. He's got the age where he's, like I said, like jumped in with the young guys, but he's also 26-year-old Villanova, 4-year college player. Like, the experience is there.
That's a great point. Freckled Mamba cooking like he does on the court. That's just what he does. Any final thoughts, Steven, on the glaze fest that was this episode of Collin Gillespie?
Yeah, two quick things. His pace on offense, the pace he plays with when he has the ball in his hands, he doesn't over dribble or overrun the windows for opportunity for himself or to make passes to teammates. He doesn't make many mistakes. I think the one thing he might do, which might kind of be a little bit of room for improvement as well, sometimes dribbling too much at times, but it's not for him dribbling to create for himself. He's trying to probe to find windows and opportunity for others. And I think at times he over dribbles trying to look for others when he has opportunity to score for himself. And then the other thing defensively, he really genuinely gets after it. He might not have the most Amen Thompson type screen navigation or the athleticism that those type of guys have, but in terms of the intent and the ability to defend, to scheme, and genuinely stay in front of the ball, he does that very, very well. And teams try to pick on him, and he's just there. He's a pest. And that's the most complimentary thing you can get as a quote-unquote smaller guard on the basketball court.
Yeah. He just has it. And does it translate into a starter? We'll see. But I think the defensive, it's going to fit in with this identity. Offensively, I think Jordan Knott's going to have a lot of fun using him as an off-ball screener, as a pick-and-roll initiator, somebody who can screen for the inverse pick-and-roll, as a shooter, as a driver. He might need to work on the percentages, but as far as getting there, he has that down, and that's a big step for him. I think the world is at his fingertips, man. And like Ayrton said, he's 26 years old. Right, he's starting to enter this point where you talk about the prime of your career. I mean, this guy was killing at Villanova. He was a 2018 national champion, right? This guy was all conference in 2020, 2021, 2022. It's been a while now at this point. Like it's his time, and I'm sure he feels that way too. And I think the Suns feel that way as well. But let us know what you think about where Collin Gillespie will end up this season with the Suns, what his career outlook looks like. Michael in the chat switches up vibes a little bit, says Devin Booker is going to lead the league in scoring. Michael, you might be on our payroll because you are promoting a trending podcast that Steven and I recorded where Steven kind of drove the ship and was like, hey, man, I got some stats. I got some stuff. Let's talk about it. And it is revolving around Devin Booker. And has he peaked as a scorer? Can he get to 30 points per game? That's going to be dropping on YouTube and on audio tomorrow morning. You definitely want to check that out. Great basketball conversations, just like Steven and I had about Jalen Green. Earlier this week, we've heard some really great stuff about that trending mini pod about why Jalen Green as a culture setter is going to fit in well in Phoenix, even if you're lower on the basketball fit. I highly recommend you checking into that and hearing what Alperen Şengün had to say about his former teammate. That is on video and audio and on our website as well. If you want to find the trending podcasts, we also post them on gophnx.com, where you can also find all Gerald's work. I know Steven is hard at work putting together film studies, not just for the Suns, but also for the Mercury. Some incredible stuff and some incredible coverage on both sides of the men's National Basketball Association and the W. You know, nobody's doing it like Steven. Matt Ishbia recognizes it. Of course, we recognize it here. It's time for you to recognize it. And if you are looking to be introduced into the W world, the Mercury show here on PHNX and Steven and Erica and Kevin and that crew, like I truly mean this. This is not me glazing. This is not me being Mr. Shill. Like, this is me being genuine. I don't think there's a better place to be introduced into W coverage and into the Mercury and just into the W in general than with that crew. And then of course with my co-host here as well. So make sure that you're tapped in on that side. Everybody talking about, oh, there's no basketball right now. There's no, shut up. Yes, there is. There's actually a lot of basketball going on right now. Angel Reese is hooping, and people are still posting the one layup that she missed.
She only missed 3 shots yesterday.
I know.
Like,
People are so stupid. Paige is killing it. Erica does the DLS Wings pod. The only reason why I don't love what Paige is doing is because I bought a PSA graded 10 Caitlin Clark rookie card, and I need Caitlin Clark to get her chain back because I need that to be an investment and not one that I lose money on. So get healthy, Caitlin. But I mean, seriously, there's such a wonderful world of basketball for you if you have not tapped in with the W, and Steven just does such a great job of breaking it down. So
appreciate that, man. Thank you.
You can follow him at StevenPG3. That's Steven with the PH because he balances us out. You can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. That's on Twitter and on Instagram. We're posting shorts, we're posting clips, we're posting stats, questions, mailbags, all of that. You are missing out on part of the show if you're not following us on socials. You can follow the Freckled Mamba at Freckled Mamba, the guy who almost threw down a reverse alley-oop in our men's league game the other day. Just insane stuff. And you can follow me at ERIKRUBY on TikTok as well, by the way. That's right. Your boy's on TikTok. Check me out there as well. Eric Ruby Sports on TikTok. Eric Ruby on Instagram. Steven, again, you got to let me know how to pronounce your name. Says, yo, how old are you guys? Steven and Eric. Are you okay sharing your age?
It's with a PH and with a K.
True.
But we get to know each other, so you get a pass for one time. I just turned 30 though.
I am 12. I'm 26. Yeah, but we appreciate you all joining us here. Listen,
Melissa, you the best.
Aw, so sweet. We appreciate all of you so much. You guys are the true psychos and sickos. Anybody tapping in right now, I mean, you are absolute freaks in the highest complimentary sense. So thank you all so much. Again, none of this is possible. We wouldn't be able to do this. We wouldn't be able to bring you film breakdowns and trending pods and be in the studio if it wasn't for all of you. So utmost gratitude. Craig72 says, I just joined from the UK and you're finishing up. I'm sorry, Craig. Craig, you got to get here on time, brother.
Sorry, Craig. What you do is you just take that cursor at the bottom, the red line, drag it all the way to the left, and I promise you start off right where you hoped you were.
Craig, give us your take on Collin Gillespie. Craig. Well, since you made it here live from the UK, we've got Serbia representing. We got the UK here representing. PHNX Suns International.
We got Brazil fans. We got fans in Puerto Rico. We got fans in the Philippines.
Yeah,
we're getting all over the map now.
Oh man, got fans in Sedona, Flagstaff, everywhere. By the way, I really want to go up there. Craig72 says future legend. Well, Craig, you're a current legend for tapping in with us and the off hours over there in the UK. But Craig, just so you know, we are live about an hour before where we are right now. It's 3 o'clock Arizona time. I don't know what that is in the UK. Sorry. But we're live at 3 o'clock Arizona time, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, even in the off season. And once the season starts, there's no better place to get your coverage of the Suns. The same place that there's no better way to get your PHNX Mercury coverage. You got to get it here for Suns during the season. We're talking post-game shows, pre-game shows, watch-alongs, film studies, breakdowns, articles, trending pods, literally anything that you could possibly imagine. Reporting live on Twitter from the games and everything like that. We are your comprehensive place for Phoenix Suns coverage. So make sure you stick around from the UK, Craig. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of you. This outro has been the longest one in PHNX Suns history. I'll be collecting my Guinness Book of World Records. Oh my God, I almost got that. I almost got it. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.